Previously, he realizes he has returned 14 years into the past. He sees his father alive again and meets the same group that made his former life miserable. This time, he abandons the sword and chooses magic instead. Now, the story moves to the next chapter. The person said that even though he had no weapon, he would not go easy on him. The attacker could not hide his excitement at the coming fight. He focused on the person attacking and watched his movements carefully. He could see the attacker was using physical enhancement from his sword aura to make himself stronger. The power was real, but he knew this alone was not enough to defeat him. He moved to the left and dodged the attack smoothly. He said the attack would not work. He could see the person was using the sword only as a weapon. The attacker was not treating the sword as part of his own body. This was the difference between a true swordsman and someone still learning. This made the person more irritated and angry. The attacker screamed at him not to look down on him. The person demanded respect. He swung his sword multiple times, attacking over and over. Each swing was powerful and fast, but he dodged every single attack easily. He moved left and right, backward and forward. Each dodge was smooth and natural. While he dodged, his mind thought back to his past life. He realized he was treating this fight like a training exercise with one of his disciples. He was not fighting to win. He was analyzing and teaching through movement. This was not what he should be doing right now. He needed to fight differently now that he was no longer bound to the sword. Meanwhile, the attacker kept screaming in frustration. None of his attacks were working. Every swing missed. Every thrust found nothing but air. The attacker's face grew red with anger and embarrassment. Then he had seen enough. The time for dodging was over. He was ready for the counterattack. He moved forward with speed. He struck the base of the sword hard. The force was incredible. The sword flew out of the attacker's hands. It spun through the air and fell to the ground far away. The attacker fell to the ground. He was shocked. He looked up at the person standing over him. The attacker cursed at him angrily for what he had done. The words were angry and full of shame, but his attacks were not done. He readied the next strike. His body moved into position. His face became serious now. The attacker saw this and his anger turned to fear. Real fear. The person could see it in his eyes. He asked the attacker a question. Why would he attack someone who was unarmed? It was dishonorable. A true swordsman would never do such a thing. This was against everything a swordsman should believe in. The attacker had no answer. He could only look away in shame. Moments later, he watched as the other students came and took their friend away. They helped him up from the ground and carried him away from the clearing. They did not speak. They did not look back. He looked down at the training sword on the ground. He thought that this would be enough. This would be enough for them to stop picking on him. They had seen his power. They had felt his strength. They would not bother him again. He remembered his father forcing him to awaken his aura in his last life. It was painful. It was difficult. His father had pushed him hard, making him train day and night. His fist tightened as he thought about those memories. He did not want to go through that again. Not this time. This time, he would awaken his aura in his own way, on his own schedule, without his father's pressure and fear of abandonment. He would do it because he chose to, not because he was afraid. Moments later, he was walking through the forest. Sweat ran down his face and dripped from his body. The heat was intense. The trees blocked the sun, but the air was still hot and thick. He looked around carefully at his surroundings. He thought he was far enough away that no one would see him here. The forest was dense. The trees were tall and close together. No one from the village would come this far. No one would find him here if they tried. He tried to remember how to use magic. He searched his memory from his last life. He recalled a moment when he had asked a mage how magic actually worked. He remembered asking her a specific question. He had asked her what the difference was. A swordsman builds his spirit inside his body to make his body stronger and makes weapons stronger. But what do mages do? What do they do to make themselves stronger and create their magic? The mage understood his question. She paused and thought about how to explain this properly. She looked around at the ground. She saw something that could help her explain. She found a watering can nearby and picked it up. She held up the watering can and explained to him. She said that mages are like this watering can. He asked her how a watering can was similar to a mage. The explanation did not make sense to him yet. She explained further. She said that mana is invisible, cannot be seen with the eyes, but it is everywhere. It exists naturally all around them in the air. Mana is in the forest, in the sky, in the water. It is everywhere. What a mage does is allow the mana around them to flow through their special circuits inside their body. The circuits are paths through the body where mana can travel. The mana fills the mage like water filling up a watering can. Once the mana is inside the circuits, the mage creates a formula. This formula is a specific way to shape and control the mana. Then they let the mana pour out of their body, just like water pouring out of a watering can. The mage smiled and said this is how magic is activated and used. This is the basic principle of magic. Everything else builds on this foundation. Now, remembering what the mage had said, he started to think about her explanation. He thought about mana and how it is in the air around him right now. He wondered how to start the process. He thought that if he could see mana, then he would be able to draw its power into his circuits. But he was not sure if he could see it. He was not sure if it was possible. But he wanted to try. He had to try. He thought about his time as a sword saint. A swordsman uses his eyes to see movement and distance. A swordsman uses his ears to hear sounds and danger. A swordsman uses his skin to feel temperature and touch. A swordsman uses his 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Together, these senses make him aware of his surroundings. He could recall all the countless battles he had been through. He could remember being close to death many times. He had trained these senses in life and death situations. He had pushed his senses to their limits. Even though he was no longer a swordsman, those senses he had honed as a sword saint would always be with him. They were part of him now. He thought about the senses he had right now in this moment. He should be able to sense mana even if he could not see it with his eyes. Mana should have a feeling, a presence. He just had to learn to sense it. He closed his eyes and focused. He sensed all the things around him. He felt the wind. He felt the heat. He felt the presence of the trees. He felt the air moving. Then slowly he opened his eyes. He could see streams of mana floating around him. It was like watching water flow through the air. The mana moved in patterns and currents. He could see it glowing faintly. He realized what he was seeing was mana itself. He was shocked to see how different the world looked when mana was visible. The whole forest looked different. The air was filled with color and movement. He got excited. He could not believe he had actually done it. He had managed to see mana on his own. Now, he thought all he had to do was figure out how to draw the mana into his circuits. That should be the next step. But then his excitement stopped suddenly. He realized something terrible. He had no idea how to do it. He had no idea how to start drawing mana into his circuits. The mage had explained the theory, but she had never explained the practical steps. How did you actually pull mana into your body? What was the technique? What was the method? He stood there, frustrated and uncertain. But suddenly he sensed something. Something was not right. Something was nearby. He jumped down from the rock he was standing on. He landed on the ground below and looked ahead. He saw lights in the distance through the trees. Something down there felt wrong. The feeling was strong. Something about those lights was dangerous. He wanted to check it out. He wanted to know what it was. Moments later, he was following the lights through the forest. He walked carefully, watching and listening. As he walked, he thought about what he was seeing. It was strange. He looked around at the forest around him. He saw no signs of wild animals. Usually forests were full of life. He would hear birds singing. He would see squirrels moving through the trees. He would feel the presence of deer or other animals. But here there was nothing. No birds, no animals, no sounds of life. The forest was silent and empty of all wild creatures. This was definitely strange. This made him more careful. Something was wrong with this place. Suddenly, he jumped back. An attack landed right in front of him. The ground where he had been standing a moment before was now destroyed. Something had hit with incredible force. He looked up and wondered what had attacked him. What was going on? He saw that the thing that had attacked him was a golem. It was huge. It was made of stone or rock. It towered over him and looked down at him with empty eyes. Golems were magical constructs, controlled by magic. They were not alive, but they could be made to move and attack. He asked why a golem would be in a forest like this. Golems were usually found in cities or towns, in places where people lived. Why would one be here in the middle of the forest? Suddenly, he saw the lights again. A shadow appeared above him. The shadow was the shape of a person. He looked up and saw the figure of someone landing on the golem's shoulder. The person landed gracefully on the large construct. He wondered who she was. He could see it was a woman from her shape and movement. The lady spoke up and questioned him. She asked what business he had with her workshop. She asked if he was after her research. The golem got ready to attack him. It raised its arms, prepared to strike. He looked at her carefully. She was beautiful. Her features were striking, but her face was serious and dangerous. She said something that made the situation very clear. She said that if he valued his own life, he should think very carefully about the next words he was going to say, because his life was on the line. One wrong word could mean death. The golem would attack on her command. He needed to choose his words with great care.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and like. It really helps me out.